This story starts with the MC talking about his cute girlfriend, Akira, who is a certified tomboy and dresses like a failed rapper from the 90s. For as long as the protagonist, Daichi, could remember, they'd been friends. It was only after a few years of friendship that he finally summoned the courage to confess how he felt, but to his shock, Akira actually said yes. With that, they started dating, and ever since, Akira had kept up dressing like Kanna West. One day, Daichi found out through Instagram that Akira's school was having a festival with a cosplay event and asked if he could come. But Akira said no because she was embarrassed. Daichi's imagination started going wild, picturing her dressed up in different cosplay costumes, but he knew she'd look cute no matter what she put on. Ignoring Akira's warnings, Daichi secretly made up his mind to sneak into the festival. Weeks passed, and finally the festival day arrived. Daichi sneaked into the cosplay event and spotted Akira wearing a maid's outfit. Akira immediately turned red with embarrassment and scolded Daichi for coming even after she warned him not to. Daichi apologized and admitted he just couldn't resist seeing her in cosplay. Still embarrassed, Akira tried to hide behind a poster, but Daichi gently moved it aside so he could see her better. Standing there looking at her in that adorable outfit, Daichi couldn't think about anything else except how unbelievably cute his girlfriend was. That evening at the dojo, Daichi teased Akira about the maid outfit she'd worn at the festival. He complimented her, confessing she had looked very cute, and then added that he'd love to see her dressed up like that again. But Akira snapped, shouting she'd never wear anything like that again, and insisted she'd only worn the outfit because a friend forced her. Meanwhile, Daichi wasn't really listening anymore. His brain was busy replaying her adorable cosplay. Just then the coach interrupted, calling them over and announcing they would practice together since Akira was the only girl there that day. When the practice duel commenced, Daichi hesitated, feeling awkward. He was clearly taller than Akira and had underestimated her because of her small size. But without hesitation, Akira stepped forward confidently, grabbed his collar, and slammed him hard onto the mat like she was taking out the trash. Daichi lay there stunned, wondering how he had lost in less than 2 seconds. With practice over, Akira smirked, teasing him about how he had become weaker than a Disney princess. But instead of feeling offended, Daichi was actually impressed by his girlfriend's strength. Later that night, the dojo coach spotted Daichi about to head out and asked why on earth he was leaving so late just for donuts. He warned Daichi he'd probably be late, but Daichi was determined to go anyway. As Daichi stepped outside, he froze in shock. Akira was standing there, dressed in a surprisingly feminine outfit instead of her usual delivery boy clothes. Her cheeks flushed pink as she shyly avoided his gaze. Daichi stared blankly, feeling like his soul had momentarily left his body. When Daichi asked if she had dressed up for him, Akira swiftly corrected him, insisting the outfit was just a birthday gift from a friend. She explained it wasn't her usual style and warned him not to get cocky, claiming it wasn't meant to impress him. But Daichi couldn't stop staring at her, and then unknowingly blurted out that she looked cute. Blushing deeply, Akira snapped at him to shut up. But no matter how harsh her words sounded, Daichi was already completely mesmerized. A few days later, Daichi unexpectedly showed up at Akira's crib and rang the doorbell. Akira opened the door wearing loose, comfortable clothes, perfect for Netflix and chill, and was surprised to see Daichi standing there. Before she could joke about him possibly losing his way home, Daichi quickly explained that he'd left his flashcards at her place. Stepping inside, Daichi noticed the loose top and shorts Akira was wearing and casually asked if she always wore clothes like that. Akira told him she was used to it, and then joked, asking if seeing her dressed casually helped lower his blood pressure in any way. Meanwhile, Daichi's heart raced. To him, Akira always looked pretty, no matter what she wore. They went to the living room to search for the flashcards, but couldn't find them anywhere. Feeling frustrated, Akira wondered if the cards had somehow gotten mixed up with her things. As she frantically searched, bending down here and there, Daichi's eyes accidentally landed on the highway where dreams were made between her chest, a view he definitely wasn't supposed to see. Quickly realizing what he had done, Daichi snapped his head away, but it was already too late. Akira noticed immediately, felt embarrassed, and quickly fixed her shirt. She glared at Daichi, who suddenly seemed overly interested in searching for the flashcards. Too embarrassed to ignore what had just happened, Akira confronted Daichi, asking if he had noticed anything. Daichi started sweating nervously, trying to deny it, but ended up stammering like a game character in a glitch. Eventually, after much hesitation, he admitted he'd caught a brief glimpse of the heavenly sight. Hearing this, Akira angrily launched a flying kick straight into his stomach as punishment for looking and pretending otherwise. Daichi desperately tried explaining that he'd quickly looked away, but Akira wasn't convinced. Still upset, she kept scolding him and eventually shoved him outside, slamming the door shut. Inside, Akira's face turned bright red with embarrassment. She silently vowed that next time she'd definitely wear something cuter. Meanwhile, outside on the floor, Daichi lay quietly on the ground, reflecting on how he could have handled the situation better. The next day after school, Akira showed up at the train station in her usual hoodie and boyish clothes. She was about to get on the train with 2 friends when she suddenly spotted her boyfriend. Their eyes met and both froze in total awkward silence. Neither of them said a word. At the exact same time, they both executed a flawless 180-degree turn, each pretending the other wasn't even there, like 2 secret agents in disguise. Daichi quickly walked over to hang out with his homies, trying to look as chill as possible, while Akira did the same with her own group, jumping into some casual conversation. It turned out, these 2 awkward lovebirds were still keeping their relationship a secret from everyone else. The guys were busy chatting about the usual guy stuff, mostly chicks, while one of Akira's friends gave her a curious look and asked if she was having a date with her boyfriend at home, then warned her to be careful. But Akira wasn't paying much attention to the gossip. Instead, her mind wandered, thinking that her relationship with Daichai felt less like a classic love story and more like two bros hanging out, playing games in silence, and munching on snacks together. Right then, one of Akira's friends, who had been eyeing her closely, noticed something off but felt too awkward to say anything at first. After a moment, she finally got the courage to quietly tell Akira that her skirt had ridden up. Akira quickly looked down, but then relaxed when she remembered she was wearing leggings underneath. She told her friend not to worry since the leggings had her covered. Her friend just sighed and said Akira was starting to look more like a guy every day. Daichai overheard the comment but stayed quiet. At that moment, Daichai noticed a couple nearby openly holding hands and flirting without a care in the world. Meanwhile, he just stood there, stiff and awkward, like some lost tree, wondering if girls actually liked all that public affection. He glanced over at Akira, who was gripping her backpack like it was some kind of shield, instead of grabbing onto something in a moving train. Honestly, she looked more like a warrior preparing for battle than someone's girlfriend. Right then, Daichai started to wonder if Akira would ever be into doing stuff like PDA on the train, since that's what normal couples seem to do. But before he could think much about it, the train suddenly jolted, making everyone wobble and causing Daichai and Akira's backs to touch each other. Realizing it was now or never, Daichai tried to gather all the courage he had. He moved in slowly, as nervous as a cat, inching his shaky hand toward Akira's back, his heart beating like he was about to cut the wrong wire in a movie bomb scene. When he finally touched her, Akira flinched, totally surprised. She leaned in and whispered sharply, asking what on earth he was doing. Daichai immediately yanked his hand back like he'd touched a hot stove and stumbled over an apology. Akira, obviously annoyed, called him an idiot and reminded him they were in public, and to make it even more embarrassing, his friends were standing right there. She told him flat out that they just couldn't do stuff like this here. Daichai realized she was right and figured he'd totally messed up the timing. At that moment, the train stopped at the next station. Still embarrassed, Akira muttered that she couldn't handle this and dashed out the doors as soon as they opened, her face bright red. Daichai just stood there, watching her disappear while the train rolled away, taking him and his self-esteem to the next stop. Every time he tried to act cool, his confidence took another hit. He sighed and stared out the window, expecting rain to start falling just to make his life even more dramatic. Over the weekend, Daichai was chilling at home, reading his favorite manga, when he suddenly remembered that Akira's school was having a sports festival. But after getting caught and chewed out by Akira last time for sneaking into her event without an invite, he figured it was smarter to just stay away this time. Akira had already told him a few days ago that only her close friend Rihanna knew about their secret romance, and she didn't want him randomly showing up. So, like a good, drama-avoiding boyfriend, Daichai made up his mind to just stay home and enjoy a lazy, drama-free day. But just then, Daichai's phone started ringing. So much for a chill day, fate had other plans. It was Akira's mom who apologized for bothering him but explained there was a serious problem. She told him that Akira's dad had gotten way too excited about the festival, ended up falling down the stairs, and now needed Daichai's help to take a bento lunch to Akira at the festival. Daichai took a moment to process this, realizing there was no way out of it. With a sigh, he made his way to Akira's house, where her mom greeted him with an apologetic smile and handed over the bento, thanking him for the help. Daichai then headed to the festival, feeling more nervous than a rookie bank robber. The second he spotted Akira, his brain practically glitched out. As usual, Akira was crushing the competition without even trying. Daichai couldn't help but admire how good she was at everything. While Akira's friends cheered loudly, Daichai just stood there, completely impressed. Suddenly, an announcement came over the speakers. It was time for the cheering competition between the blue and red teams. Daichai noticed the blue team's cheerleaders all dressed in Gakuren uniforms and didn't think much of it. But when the red team took the stage, Daichai's jaw practically hit the floor. The music started, and there she was, his tough martial arts-trained, tomboy girlfriend, dancing around in a tiny, eye-catching outfit. She was rocking a cropped top and shorts that basically screamed, "Take me home already!" As Akira danced closer to the crowd, she suddenly noticed Daichai standing among the spectators. Panic flashed across her face. For one glorious second, it looked like she was about to ditch the dance and storm over to ask Daichai what on earth he was doing there. But she stopped herself, took a deep breath, and tried to keep dancing, even though it was obvious she was super flustered. The rest of her routine was a mix of cool moves and total embarrassment, all because Daichai showed up. As soon as the event was over, Akira hurried outside to find Daichai. She stormed up to him like an angry customer looking for a manager, calling him a dummy and scolding him for staring at her so much in public. She warned him that if he kept acting like that, people would eventually figure out they were together. Daichai, caught off guard, quickly apologized and explained that showing up wasn't even his idea. But her dad's Tom Cruise stunt fall on the staircase forced him into bento delivery mode. Hearing this, Akira's anger faded a little, and she thanked him for going through the trouble. Still, she told him she was a little mad at him. In response, Daichai just gave her a straightforward compliment. He told her honestly that she looked really cute, and he was happy he got to see her like that. Without waiting for her reaction, Daichai turned to leave. But he barely made it 3 steps before Akira, still super embarrassed, quickly gave him a light punch on the back. Her face was bright red as she called him a dumbass. That was her way of saying thank you for the compliment. Not long after, Akira met up with Daichai at the park and told him that her dad's friend needed some part-time help, so she'd be starting work next week, probably as a cook. She confidently told Daichai her cooking would taste even better than Gordon Ramsay's and invited him to come try it, though she said they probably wouldn't see each other since she'd be stuck in the kitchen. Daichai agreed, but soon his mind started wandering as he pictured what Akira would look like as a chef. He imagined Akira as one of those chefs on cooking shows, the ones who might never win but somehow still steal the spotlight with their super cool moves. The idea made him smile, so he asked Akira if she thought the chef's uniform would look good on her. Akira answered right away, saying it would definitely look awesome. But while Daichai was excited about the uniform, he was even more curious to find out how her cooking would taste. A few days later, Daichai's curiosity got the best of him, so he went to the restaurant where Akira was supposed to be working, making sure to show up with an empty stomach. He sat down like a model customer and started flipping through the menu, just expecting a regular meal. Once he found exactly what he wanted, he signaled for the waitress to take his order. But when he looked up, his brain nearly did a backflip. Standing there was Akira herself. Daichai's face went pale as a ghost, and for a solid 5 seconds, neither of them said a word. Akira, on the other hand, looked like she was about to punch him in his stupid face and demanded to know why he showed up. Daichai was startled by her reaction and tried to explain that he'd already told her the day before that he planned to come. But Akira shot back, asking if he hadn't seen the message she sent him that morning. Then she quickly whipped out her WhatsApp receipts as proof. Turns out, Akira had texted him earlier asking him not to show up that day. Even though Daichai figured that was just typical Akira behavior, he quickly apologized, claiming he hadn't noticed her message. Akira then explained that she only told him not to come because one of the employees had called in sick, so she got dragged out of her kitchen and forced to serve as a waitress. Daichai nodded, still taking in what she just said, while Akira suddenly got super self-conscious about how the waitress uniform looked on her. She felt embarrassed, thinking it didn't suit her at all, and told him not to stare. But Daichai, being himself, immediately blurted out that she looked really cute. Before he could say anything else, Akira quickly slapped her hand over his mouth to shut him up, her face completely red with embarrassment. She was just trying to save a bit of dignity before he made her blush any harder. Daichai gently moved her hand away, smirking, and teased her by asking if she didn't agree that she actually looked cute. Flustered, Akira insisted that it wasn't like that, and that she didn't really care about compliments. But her bright red face totally gave her away. She was clearly dying from embarrassment and blushing like crazy. She tried to cover her face with her hand, but it didn't do much to hide how flustered she was. Later, Daichai left the restaurant, lost in his own thoughts. He let out a dramatic sigh and stared up at the sky, almost in tears. He hadn't eaten at home and came all the way for the food, but instead of getting a meal, he got served a full course of anxiety. A few weeks later, Daichai and Akira were having dinner together at a restaurant. On the TV nearby, a talk show presenter was talking about a fashion trend that a famous influencer had started. Both Daichai and Akira watched the show with interest. Akira commented that the style used to be really popular and said it actually looked pretty good back in the day. After hearing Akira's comment, Daichai started imagining what she would look like wearing that style. He figured that everything must seem cute to her because she was already so adorable herself. Still, there was one thing Daichai didn't like about the trend. The skirt was way too short and would totally show a girl's underwear if she wore it. Amused, Akira teased him, asking if he was turning into an old creep now. Seeing how excited she was about the style, Daichai couldn't help but start thinking about something that had been bugging him. Ever since Akira started senior school, she'd changed a lot and was acting way more girly than before. Back in junior school, everyone knew her as the tomboy, but now she was wearing pretty clothes all the time. Daichai knew Akira was super cute, and that made him worry, especially since her new style would probably make more guys try to hit on her. A new worry started to creep in for Daichai. Trying to shake it off, he asked Akira if she wanted to go shopping with him after school. But Akira apologized and politely said she already had plans with a friend. As she thanked him for the date and the nice meal, Daichai couldn't help but wonder if he was starting to get too possessive of her. He didn't want to come off as clingy or needy, like those guys who get obsessed with their girlfriends, so he knew he had to chill out a bit. After Akira left, Daichai hung around the restaurant for a while before finally heading out, figuring she was probably with her friend by now. As he walked alone through the streets, Daichai spotted a game shop and decided to pop in to pass the time. But as soon as he stepped inside, he heard a familiar girl's voice sweetly calling out Akira's name. The girl was excitedly saying she needed to take a picture of Akira's outfit, going on about how popular the style was and how great it looked on her. Daichai turned toward the voice and was shocked to see Akira right there in front of him, wearing a cardigan-style blouse and a mini skirt that was about as short as your attention span. Daichai almost had a heart attack when he saw Akira dressed up in Jaru clothes. His brain was still stuck on how insanely short her skirt was when Akira noticed him and, looking surprised, demanded to know what he was doing there. She quickly pulled Daichai aside to a more private spot and asked why he wasn't out shopping like he said he would be. Daichai hesitated, then quietly said he was just passing by. He couldn't help glancing at her skirt again, still shocked to see her wearing something so bold. Akira's face turned bright red as she snapped at him for staring, quickly using her hands to adjust her skirt. She told him she was leaving the store, but before she could head out, Daichai grabbed her hand. Akira turned around, looking confused and wondering what he was up to. Without saying anything, Daichai quickly took off his jacket and wrapped it around Akira's waist to cover her up. He told her that even though she looked amazing, the last thing he wanted was for random guys to be staring at his cute girlfriend. Daichai's words hit Akira hard, and her face instantly turned bright red. But as soon as he said it, Daichai started to regret it, realizing he probably sounded like a jealous boyfriend. Deep down, he couldn't help but think maybe he really was becoming one of those possessive guys after all. The next day in class, Riane, Akira's close friend, sat quietly at her desk when a few girls came over and invited her to go to karaoke. Without thinking much about it, Rihanna turned them down, saying it just wasn't a good day for her. The girls apologized for bothering her and left. Rihanna had always been known for being cold, that's why everyone called her the real Ice Queen. But besides being distant, she was also cool, calm, and always looked put together. She wasn't much of a talker, but everyone admired her anyway. Rihanna was staring out the window, lost in thought, when Akira showed up and snapped her back to reality by asking if they could walk home together. Ever since kindergarten, Rihanna had always kept her social life to a minimum, but Akira was the one person who had pulled her out of her shell. Thinking about it, Rihanna felt grateful to have such a kind and amazing friend. But things had changed a bit after they started senior school. One day at lunch, out of nowhere, Akira casually mentioned to Rihanna that she might have gotten herself a boyfriend. Rihanna couldn't believe it, since she remembered Daichai from kindergarten. Her memories of him were honestly not great. In her mind, Daichai was always that tall, absent-minded, gloomy guy she barely talked to. After replaying all that in her head, Rihanna immediately asked Akira if she was really sure about dating someone that creepy. Akira blushed and insisted that Daichai wasn't weird. He just didn't know how to show his feelings openly. But even as Akira tried to defend him, she started to wonder if maybe Rihanna had a point about Daichai being kind of a weirdo with a strong libido energy. Watching Akira, Rihanna suddenly felt a sense of responsibility to protect her only friend from Daichai. She believed that, deep down, Akira had an innocent heart, was way too naive, and could be easily tricked. In Rihanna's mind, it became urgent to keep Akira safe from Daichai's suspicious influence. From that day on, Rihanna promised herself she'd keep a close eye on Daichai and wouldn't hesitate to step in if he did anything weird. Fast forward to after school, as Rihanna walked home with Akira and Daichai, she noticed something. Even though they'd been dating for a while, their relationship hadn't really gone anywhere. Thinking about it, Rihanna realized their relationship had less romantic energy than two bros arguing over a game of football. In her opinion, school couples who'd been together for over a year should at least show some signs of progress. It was pretty obvious to her that Akira and Daichai still had no clue how to act like a real boyfriend and girlfriend. Rihanna lost in thought, trying to figure out what was really missing in Akira and Daichai's relationship and why they couldn't move forward. She was so caught up in her thoughts that she didn't even notice when Daichai asked if she wanted to join them at Saburo. Since Rihanna didn't answer, Daichai gave up, turned to Akira, and mentioned a new ramen shop had just opened across the street, which immediately caught Akira's attention. Akira excitedly started asking where the ramen shop was, and Daichai pointed in its direction, but as she looked around, she couldn't spot it. Suddenly, she slipped, and to keep from falling, she instinctively grabbed onto Daichai. For a moment, everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Both Akira and Daichai immediately got flustered and quickly pulled away from each other, while Rihanna watched in silent frustration. She was done with their awkwardness, and decided right then that she was going to fix these two dorks, whether they wanted her help or not. Rihanna kicked off her mission to fix their relationship by chatting with Daichai at the mall. She started by casually asking how things were going between him and Akira lately. Daichai froze at the question, but after thinking for a moment, he let out a sigh and admitted that Akira was just too cute, and he honestly had no idea what to do. Rihanna was surprised at how honest and open Daichai was about his relationship. She asked him if he thought being in a relationship was great. Daichai admitted that he didn't really feel that way and confessed he was confused about what to do with the situation he was in. He told Rihanna that he was actually really worried about other guys checking out his girlfriend. Daichai explained that he didn't really know what else to do, so all he'd been doing was calling Akira cute. Rihanna found this pretty frustrating and thought Daichai needed to man up a little in the relationship. Wanting to help, she told Daichai that since he was such a straightforward guy, he should just go straight to Akira and tell her he likes her. Rihanna told Daichai that if he actually said those words to Akira again, he might start to realize how he really feels. Daichai thought her advice made sense, but he stayed quiet. Just as Rihanna finished talking, Akira came back carrying a plate of food and a big smile. She quickly apologized to Rihanna for any trouble and also thanked her for taking care of the judo club's Halloween costumes. Akira praised Rihanna's skills, saying she was amazing at making costumes. Rihanna just shrugged and said that since both the instructor and the upperclassmen took dressing up so seriously, she figured it was only right to do a good job. Meanwhile, Daichai listened quietly, still thinking about Rihanna's advice. Akira, excited, said she'd love it if Rihanna made a cool outfit for her. Hearing the word love, Daichai's mind wandered. He realized that, since the time he confessed to Akira and they started dating, he had never actually told her again that he loved her. Even as a couple, they still acted more like friends. He always just called her cute and never said anything deeper. Seeing how tense Daichai looked after their talk, Rihanna said she'd take care of everything later. The day of the festival finally arrived. Daichai was dressed up in a costume that made him look like Prince Charming, and he was honestly impressed with how well Rihanna had made it. As he looked around, he spotted Akira, who looked annoyed while some kids were tugging at her mantle. She finally managed to stop the kids and chase them away. Daichai walked over and asked why she was holding onto her mantle so tightly, like she was trying to hide something. Akira said everything was fine, but claimed that she had a feeling that Rihanna had totally set her up. Daichai was still confused about what Akira meant when she said Rihanna had set her up. Suddenly, a little girl came over and started pulling on Akira's mantle. The mantle stretched and tore, revealing a beautiful dress underneath. Daichai was shocked. A princess dress was the last thing he expected Akira to be wearing. He waited for Akira to get mad since she usually hated wearing anything that fancy. But instead, Akira focused on the little girl, who looked like she was about to cry for tearing Akira's outfit. Akira knelt down, reassured the girl that everything was fine, and told her with a smile that she really was a princess. Akira knelt down and hugged the little girl, forcing a reassuring smile even though she was dying inside. She playfully called the girl a little witch who had brought out her true form, then declared herself a princess now. The little girl giggled and ran off, leaving Akira standing there, flustered and feeling all kinds of second-hand embarrassment. As the girl disappeared into the crowd, Akira turned to Daichai and joked that being a princess really wasn't her thing. Daichai, who had been standing there in shock, finally spoke up. His voice was shaky as he nervously told Akira that he liked her. Akira's mind practically froze, her face turning bright red as she tried to process what he'd just said. She wondered if she'd heard him right, but Daichai didn't take it back. Instead, he said it again. That made Akira blush even harder, and she started stammering, demanding to know why he suddenly decided to say something like that out of nowhere. Meanwhile, just outside the window, Rihanna quietly watched the two lovebirds and felt proud, like a mastermind who'd finally pulled off a win. Even though her plan hadn't gone exactly as she hoped, she was sure that at least something had finally changed between them. Sometime later, Akira was at Rihanna's house for a sleepover. Her face was a little red as she nervously shared her thoughts with Rihanna. Akira said that ever since they started senior school, Daichai had been acting more confident. She mentioned that just the other day he told her straight up that he liked her. In the middle of her sentence, Akira quickly opened a book and pretended to read, while Rihanna just stared at her, not impressed. Akira hurriedly added that Daichai had already told her those words before, so she didn't get why he felt the need to say it again. But Rihanna cut in, saying that a lot of time had passed since then. Akira admitted she liked Daichai too, and that they'd been dating for a year, but honestly, things hadn't changed much. They still hung out the same way they always did. Blushing, Akira confessed that acting all girly or like a couple wasn't really her style, and it just made her feel embarrassed. She admitted to Rihanna that she had no idea what to do about it. Rihanna, always practical, suggested that Akira should stop dressing like a wannabe gangster, but instead dress like Kim Kardashian. But Akira shot down the idea right away, saying she was perfectly fine the way she was. The next morning, as Akira and Rihanna were heading to the convenience store, Akira suddenly spotted Daichai sitting quietly on a bench. He seemed really focused on something, which made Akira curious. She followed his gaze and saw what had caught his attention: a hot IG thirst trap walking by. But Daichai wasn't just looking, he was full-on staring. Akira was stunned. She'd never seen Daichai so focused, not even when he was supposed to be studying. Her mind raced, wondering if Daichai was suddenly into older girls. Before she could think about it anymore, she heard Daichai casually remark that the girl was cute. Time seemed to freeze. Akira suddenly pictured her whole love life getting ice-guyed. She felt a wave of panic as she couldn't believe Daichai had just called another girl cute. That was supposed to be her title. Rihanna, the self-proclaimed love expert, adjusted Akira's clothes and joked that maybe Daichai had been charmed by something Akira didn't have. Akira freaked out, scared she might lose Daichai and their relationship. Not willing to let that happen, she quickly came up with a plan. She texted Daichai, asking him to meet her at the photo booth in 30 minutes. A few minutes later, Daichai showed up and nearly had a heart attack when he saw Akira waiting for him in a stunning black turtleneck dress. The sight caught him so off guard that he was speechless at first. When he finally managed to talk, he asked Akira where she got such an amazing dress. Akira just shrugged and said the dress had always been there, and maybe he just never noticed how she usually dressed. After that, Akira quickly changed the subject. She nervously brought up what had been bothering her, the pretty girl Daichai had been staring at earlier. At first, Daichai looked confused and honestly didn't know what she was talking about. Flustered, Akira tried again, asking if he liked girls who wore thirsty clothes. Daichai was surprised by the question, but before he could answer, Akira pointed out that he must have really liked that girl since he even called her cute. But then Daichai finally explained. He said that when he called someone cute, he wasn't talking about the girl at all. He was actually looking at a little boy in a jersey running behind her. The boy reminded him of Akira, so he couldn't help but say it. Daichai assured her that he would never call anyone cute except for her. Hearing this, Akira was overwhelmed and bitterly complained about always being treated like a little schoolgirl instead of a grown woman. After a few moments, she eventually calmed down, and as they walked together, she thought to herself that she'd just have to keep doing her best to make the relationship work. The next week, Akira and her parents were in the garage working on a power bike, hoping Akira would take it for a spin. Her dad gave the usual safety talk, reminding her not to go too far. Nearby, Daichai watched as Akira slipped on a coverall for the ride and was surprised she even had one. Akira just shrugged and said it was actually her mom's, which was why it didn't really fit her. Meanwhile, Daichai's mind wandered back to the past few days. Even though he'd told Akira again that he liked her, nothing had changed. She'd acted like it was no big deal. Back in the present, Akira stood next to the bike, admiring how cool it looked. Even though Daichai also thought the bike was cool, he admitted he was actually scared to ride one. Hearing that, Akira grinned and said that one day she'd take him for a ride and he'd be sitting right behind her. Instantly, Daichai started imagining how awesome that would be. Later, as they went to get some drinks, Daichai was still thinking about how their relationship felt more like two guy friends hanging out. But then he figured that maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Before he could overthink it, Akira suddenly wrapped a cloth around his neck and pulled him along. Inside, they were served their drinks, but as soon as Akira took a sip, she jerked back, complaining about how hot it was. The coveralls, instead of keeping her comfortable, just made her feel like she was in a sauna. So, without hesitating, she took them off, revealing her inner clothes, which were already soaked with sweat. Daichai, sitting next to her, accidentally got an eyeful of her melon's trap and quickly turned his head away. No matter how hard he tried not to look, his eyes lingered a little too long. It hit him how comfortable Akira was just sitting there like that, totally unaware of the effect it had on him. He couldn't believe she didn't even see him as a guy in that moment. Deciding this couldn't go on, he quickly grabbed his hand towel and draped it over her shoulders to cover her up. He quickly told her that even if she thought of them as just guy friends, he was still a guy, and he definitely saw her as a girl. Hearing this, Akira got embarrassed and defensive. She yelled back that if her clothes were too much for him, then maybe he shouldn't stare. Frustrated, she demanded to know what he even meant by saying she only saw him as a guy friend. Before things could get more tense, Akira's mom called them back to help out. As they turned to go, Akira accidentally dropped her phone and it hit the ground. Daichai's eyes followed it, and when the screen lit up, he froze. For a second, his brain just stopped. He'd accidentally seen her search history. It was full of weird questions like, what kind of clothes would make a boyfriend happy? What kind of underwear do guys like? And more. Trying to process what he'd just seen, Daichai turned to Akira in shock. Akira, totally embarrassed, covered her face with both hands. In a quiet voice, she admitted that she didn't like how their dates felt like two guy friends hanging out either. Hearing this, Daichai felt crushed. The reality hit him that she really did see him as just one of the bros. Weeks later, Daichai was still thinking about what Akira had said about seeing him like just a bro. Meanwhile, Akira was sitting nearby having trouble with her homework, so she asked him for help. Daichai scooted closer, feeling a bit nervous, and then checked his phone to find the answer. While looking for the answer, Daichai came across a place online with chocolate fountains and lots of fun attractions. He casually told Akira about it, saying it seemed like the kind of place she would enjoy. Akira was quiet at first, not sure how to respond. When she finally spoke, she admitted that she honestly didn't like those kinds of places. But as she talked, Daichai got lost in his own thoughts. He suddenly realized that, since they were a couple, maybe he should actually ask her out on a proper date, and he really hoped she wouldn't turn him down. Before, whenever they went out, it was more like two friends just hanging out. They'd grab something to eat or wander around the station. But this time, they were actually planning to go on a real date as a couple. Later, Daichai stood in front of his closet, realizing he only had 5 hours left before his first real date. He carefully picked out what to wear, but in the back of his mind, he worried that Akira didn't seem all that excited when he asked her about the date earlier. Daichai knew it was obvious that Akira had a hard time acting feminine or behaving like a typical girlfriend. He started to worry that she was just forcing herself to go on the date for his sake, and the last thing he wanted was for her to feel pressured or burdened. Later, at the bus terminal, Daichai showed up at the meeting spot and saw Akira waiting for him. His brain cells practically exploded when he saw how cute she looked. Her outfit was almost too much for him to handle. But even with how great she looked, something felt a little off. Doubt started to creep in, and Daichai wondered if Akira was just forcing herself to be there for his sake. As he walked up to her, Daichai decided to ask what had been on his mind. He told Akira that he knew it might be a bit late to say this, but he really wanted to make sure she was okay with going on the date. He admitted that it felt like he might have pressured her into coming, and told her that if she didn't actually want to be there, she was free to leave. As soon as Daichai said that, Akira immediately punched him lightly in the stomach, like he'd just said something really stupid, and told him to quit talking nonsense. She admitted that Daichai had set the bar pretty high from the beginning, and it caught her off guard, but she was also determined to give it her best shot. Daichai was surprised by her honesty, but then Akira confidently said something that gave him chills. Blushing, Akira told him that after all, she was his girlfriend. Hearing this, Daichai nearly lost it. He was so shocked and happy that he practically got goosebumps all over. That was all the confirmation Daichai needed to know that Akira really did want to be there, and now he was sure they were going to have a great time together. While they were on their date, Daichai started thinking back to when he and Akira were kids. Back then, they played together like little rugrats, not caring about gender or anything else. But as they got older, that childhood innocence disappeared and was replaced by a new awkwardness between them. That change had affected both of them as they grew up, and now, even as a couple, it was still a problem that bothered Daichai a lot. Snapping out of his thoughts, Daichai suggested they go for a ride on the Ferris wheel. But as soon as Akira heard that, she immediately pictured them sharing their first kiss at the top and shouted out in protest. Daichai realized right away that this was a definite no from her. Akira let out a sigh and rubbed her forehead. Once again, she'd shot down her boyfriend's idea, and it just made her feel like she had zero confidence as a girlfriend. Nearby, she noticed another girl saying sweet things to her boyfriend about how much she loved their date. That made Akira feel miserable, realizing she'd just threatened her own boyfriend over a simple Ferris wheel ride. She felt like she was rude, stubborn, and anything but feminine, yet Daichai always called her cute. Doubt started to creep in. Akira couldn't help but think that Daichai would probably prefer a prettier, more feminine girl instead of someone like her. Ever since they started dating, that worry had never really gone away. Just then, Daichai quietly reached out and took her hand. For a moment, everything else disappeared. It was just the two of them, surrounded by soft lights and music playing in the background. Their eyes met, both of their faces turning red, and neither could look away. Akira's heart raced. Even though it was just a simple touch, it felt like heaven. Daichai finally spoke up and admitted that since this was his first real date, he just wanted to get closer to her. He told Akira that he was determined to do his best so she wouldn't regret being with him. Since they'd been childhood friends for so long, he was worried he might not make a good boyfriend. Akira paused for a moment, realizing that Daichai had his own insecurities too. Even when they were kids, Daichai was always like this, doing his best to make sure Akira was happy as his friend. They'd always shared the same struggles and cried over the same things. Remembering all of this, Akira realized that even though they'd grown up, neither of them had really changed at all. Feeling emotional, Akira admitted to Daichai that she was never into cute, girly things and sometimes wondered if he even saw her as a girl. She said she often felt like she didn't deserve to be his girlfriend. Daichai was stunned but stayed quiet, letting her speak. When she finished, Daichai told her that just holding her hand made his heart feel like it was about to burst. Daichai went on to say that he'd only been hoping for the chance to hold her hand, and now that he wanted to keep holding it for the rest of the night. Then he added, almost casually, that her hand was small and felt nice. Akira froze, not sure how to react. After a few minutes of holding her hand, Daichai said his hand was getting sweaty. Embarrassed, Akira quickly tried to pull away, mumbling that she understood what he meant, her face turning red. But Daichai didn't let go. In a calm voice, he told her he was going to keep holding her hand until all her doubts were gone. He said this was his way of showing how he felt about her. Akira lowered her head a bit, her cheeks turning red, and let out a soft laugh. Daichai felt relieved seeing his girlfriend genuinely laugh for once. Feeling playful, Akira squeezed his hand and Daichai yelped, quickly pulling his hand back and blurting out how ridiculously strong her grip was. Akira felt a calmness come over her as all her worries faded away. She said Daichai's name and, in a warm voice, sincerely thanked him. Under the twinkling lights, they stood together, sharing a quiet understanding. As Akira looked up at the night sky, she realized something important. Even though their relationship had changed, deep down, they were still the same. Now she knew for sure that as long as she was with Daichai, she could truly be his girlfriend. Not long after, Akira and Daichai were at the dojo, where the coach warned Akira not to use winter vacation as an excuse to slack off. Akira was surprised to hear this, since she was usually one of the most active students. Without really thinking, she handed Daichai what she was holding so she could show the coach she was serious. But as their hands touched, she suddenly remembered their last date, and the memory flashed through her mind. Akira's face turned red with embarrassment, and she quietly thanked Daichai, which made him wonder if something was wrong. They both quickly looked away before things got awkward. Ever since their date, things had changed between them. They'd started acting more like a real couple. Without even realizing it, Akira was getting more comfortable being his girlfriend. Just then, the coach announced that 3 new students would be joining Randir Academy for winter training. Following the coach's instructions, Akira and Daichai were asked to help guide them. During a demonstration, Daichai took one of the girls' hands to show a technique. Akira turned and noticed how the other 2 girls seemed really interested in what Daichai was showing, which sparked jealousy in her. She started to realize that Daichai was getting pretty popular with the girls, and that thought made Akira feel a little scared. Akira's eyes narrowed when she saw one of the new girls clinging to Daichai during practice, making her feel a weird mix of jealousy and worry. Since they were more of a couple now than before, Akira felt like she needed to do something to protect their relationship. So she walked right over and told Daichai that she wanted his help with her practice too. Before he could say anything, Akira grabbed him and put him in a hold. She sarcastically asked him how he felt, but Daichai couldn't answer. His mouth was clamped shut by Akira. She quickly realized that if she kept holding him like that, things would just get even more embarrassing. So Akira decided to play it cool and acted like it was all part of the training. She started explaining the move to the new students with total confidence. After keeping Daichai pinned for a while, Akira started to get nervous and began sweating. That's when Daichai called her name, snapping her out of it. Realizing what she was doing, Akira quickly jumped to her feet and made a fast retreat. Daichai just nodded and said, "Good job," clearly impressed by Akira's bold move and not bothered at all. But Akira, still flustered, was on the verge of a meltdown, wondering why Daichai was acting so calm after what just happened. As he watched Akira walk away, Daichai felt a new spark of motivation. After seeing how strong Akira was, he decided he didn't want to fall behind in training. Later, when Akira got home and changed out of her training clothes, she couldn't relax. Her mind was spinning with thoughts about what happened at the dojo. She worried that maybe Daichai's heart had been moved by something she wasn't good at. As she thought about it more, Akira made up her mind. Instead of taking things slow, she decided it was time to step up. From now on, she was determined to act like a real girlfriend and give it her all. The next day at home, Akira came back from PE class and was taking off her sneakers when her mom reminded her that Daichai would be coming over soon. Her mom added that if Akira couldn't make lunch, she'd just order pizza for them. Akira nodded and gave a quick reply before heading to the bathroom. While sitting in the bathtub, Akira remembered her promise to start taking her girlfriend role more seriously. She had even thought about the plan she'd come up with to make it happen. As she was getting dressed, Daichai arrived and rang the doorbell. Akira hurried to open the door, wearing a fluffy, slightly suspicious thirst trap outfit. Daichai was completely caught off guard. He'd never seen Akira wear something like that before. His first thought was that she looked super cute. Right away, he pointed out that those definitely weren't her usual clothes. Akira agreed and quickly explained that all her other clothes were in the laundry, so this was the only thing she had left to wear. Without dwelling on the topic further, Akira led Daichai inside, and they eventually made their way to her room. Feeling a bit nervous, Akira mentioned that the pizza should be arriving soon. Trying to change the subject, Daichai asked if Akira usually watched movies on Saturday. But while sitting on the bed, Akira zoned out for a moment. She remembered how, just the night before, she had been looking up different tips and ideas on how to act more like a real girlfriend. During her research, Akira came across all sorts of ideas, and some of them completely flustered her. Some tips suggested giving her boyfriend a surprise kiss or suddenly pushing him down on the bed. Others mentioned wearing sexy lingerie, giving back hugs, or even offering massages. Akira was shocked. Those ideas sounded more like something a call girl would do than a regular girlfriend. Akira couldn't even imagine doing most of those things, so she kept scrolling until she found something more doable. One suggestion stood out: wear some fluffy home clothes and cuddle up next to her boyfriend. That sounded much easier, so she decided to go with that plan. Snapping back to reality, Akira decided it was time to put her plan into action. She slowly started inching closer to Daichai, trying not to make it obvious. She was so awkward about it that she looked like a thief sneaking up to steal his wallet. But Daichai noticed her strange movement, which totally threw her off. Panicking, Akira quickly blurted out that the pizza had probably arrived, desperate to change the subject. Then, almost without thinking, Akira went ahead with her plan. She moved over and let her head rest on Daichai's lap, stretching out her legs just like she'd pictured. She actually pulled it off perfectly, until Daichai looked down at her in shock, which made Akira feel even more embarrassed than usual. Daichai stared at her in total shock, not sure what just happened. Realizing what she'd done, Akira's face turned bright red with embarrassment. Flustered, she quickly sat up and stammered that it was an accident, blaming it on gravity and saying it just sort of happened. She kept insisting it was just a silly mix-up, but Daichai couldn't help but wonder what she really meant. Still determined to step up her girlfriend game, Akira went to Rihanna the next day and asked for advice on how to act more like a proper girl. Rihanna was surprised to hear this, so Akira explained that she was worried because Daichai had been getting a lot of attention from other girls lately. She said she just wanted to look good in Daichai's eyes and admitted that she'd already tried on her own and failed. Rihanna was completely shocked. She never thought Akira would care about stuff like this and realized Akira was actually growing up. Without wasting any time, Rihanna agreed to help and took Akira straight to the clothing section of the mall for a full makeover. While they were shopping, Rihanna told Akira that to really stand out as a girlfriend, she'd need to do the opposite of what she usually does. Hearing that, Akira picked out a dress that was totally different from her usual style and asked if that's what Rihanna meant. Just seeing Akira holding the dress made Rihanna think she looked way cuter already. Determined, Rihanna promised to do her best to help Akira look even cuter. Meanwhile, Daichai had no idea what the girls were up to and was just going about his day. That is, until Akira showed up out of nowhere, looking super shy and dressed in an outfit Rihanna had picked out for her. She greeted him way too formally, like she was meeting royalty. Daichai was so shocked, it was like seeing a ghost straight out of Barbie land. He couldn't figure out what Akira was wearing or why she was suddenly talking like she'd swallowed a dictionary. Noticing Daichai's reaction, Akira asked him what was wrong. Daichai stammered, saying she looked cute, just in a totally different way than usual. This was all part of Akira's plan. She knew her usual attitude and way of talking wouldn't match the cute outfit, so Rihanna had even helped her practice sounding more polished and fancy. Later, as Akira and Daichai were walking together, they started talking about what to eat. Daichai suggested ramen, but Akira hesitated and turned it down, thinking ramen didn't seem very ladylike. Instead, she suggested going to a cafe since it sounded a lot fancier. Soon they were sitting in the cafe, eating sandwiches. After just one bite, Akira instantly regretted her choice. The sandwich tasted worse than spoiled milk. Still, she stayed in character, pretending it was great. Nearby, some girls whispered about how cute Akira looked, which made her even more determined to act like the perfect girlfriend. But a few minutes after eating, Akira was even hungrier than before, like she hadn't eaten anything at all. She secretly hoped they could leave soon so she could get some real food. Almost like he could read her mind, Daichai noticed a food shop nearby and took her inside. Akira was thrilled, though she tried not to show it. When they sat down, Daichai suggested they order something that wouldn't ruin her cute outfit. But as he sipped his drink, Daichai suddenly realized he missed the old Akira. He liked her most when she was just herself. Right then, as the food arrived, Akira took off her glasses and was ready to drop the whole act. Daichai smiled and told her to eat before the food got cold. This time, Akira didn't hold back. She'd dove in like a starving hyena. After one bite of the ramen, she felt amazing and couldn't help but blurting out how delicious it was. As they shared a quiet, sweet moment and looked at each other, Akira realized that being herself, without pretending, was really the best choice. The next day, the classroom was full of noise as the teacher warned everyone not to get too excited just because it was a new semester. Meanwhile, a friend nudged Daichai and asked what he was thinking about, but Daichai was too distracted to answer. He was lost in thought, worried that something was wrong with Akira. She'd been acting different lately, trying out new fashion styles and talking like a proper, dainty girl. It left Daichai confused and wondering if something had happened to cause the change. But just then, his thoughts got interrupted when he noticed a blonde girl staring at him like he owed her money. She didn't say a word, just kept staring, which made things feel kind of creepy. As Daichai thought about just ignoring her, she suddenly stepped outside and called him over with a sharp voice. Once she had his attention, she called him a punk and asked if he was from Matsu Dojo. Daichai was shocked, wondering who this girl was and how she knew anything about him. Before he could say anything, the girl suddenly mentioned Akira's name and urgently asked Daichai if he knew her. When Daichai asked what she wanted with Akira, the girl's face turned red and she hesitated before shyly admitting that she thought Akira was really cool and that she liked her. Still blushing, she introduced herself as Kumagai from first year and said she was a huge fan of Akira. Kumagai explained how she knew Akira. She had watched the national judo tournament, originally just to see her brother, but ended up being totally amazed by Akira instead. She described how, even though Akira was small and cute, she completely dominated the matches, winning one after another. Blushing even more, Kumagai added that Akira's picture even made it onto the tournament's homepage. But just seeing her there wasn't enough. She wanted to meet Akira for real. Daichai understood how Kumagai felt. Akira really did have that kind of effect on people. He started praising Akira too, and Kumagai jumped right in, excitedly agreeing. Suddenly, Kumagai blurted out that she loved Akira. Seeing how excited she was, Daichai mentioned that Akira's practice should be ending soon, and suggested that if Kumagai wanted, she could come along and meet Akira in person. Kumagai was over the moon, barely able to contain her excitement. When night came and they finally arrived, the moment Kumagai saw Akira, she started shaking with excitement, totally overwhelmed. Akira, on the other hand, was completely confused and had no idea what was happening. Daichai, also puzzled, reminded Kumagai that she wanted to meet Akira, give her a gift, and have a chat. But instead, Kumagai shouted at him to be quiet, blurted out that she just wanted to look at Akira, and then burst into tears and ran off. It was like watching a hardcore K-drama fan completely fall apart. Daichai watched Kumagai run off, wondering for a second if he might have acted the same way if he hadn't grown up as Akira's childhood friend. Meanwhile, Akira, still trying to process everything, gently tugged on Daichai's hand. Hesitating, Daichai waited, and Akira finally asked what had just happened. Daichai explained that he wanted to introduce Kumagai to her, but said he could always try again. Akira, still confused, absent-mindedly touched her hair and started thinking out loud about whether she should dye it blonde like Kumagai. Daichai, way too eager, quickly agreed, almost like he was trying to make a sale, and said she'd look even cuter that way. But that made Akira snap. She shouted that he was missing the point and stormed off. Daichai was left standing there, wondering how a simple introduction had turned into such a mess. A few days later, at the dojo, Akira couldn't focus. Her mind kept going back to the blonde girl, Kumagai, whom she thought Daichai had been flirting with right in front of her. While she was lost in her thoughts, hoping Daichai would show up, the coach announced that Daichai wouldn't be coming in that day. Daichai had gotten sick right after the whole thing with Kumagai, and Akira still hadn't heard from him or gotten any explanation. The next day, as Akira was walking to school, lost in thought about everything that had happened, she suddenly ran into Kumagai. Kumagai gave her a cold stare and, in a serious voice, told Akira she'd been looking for her and needed to talk. Standing face-to-face with the girl she thought was her rival, Akira almost had a heart attack. Akira knew Daichai was getting more popular with girls lately, but she never imagined that someone as bold as Kumagai would be interested in him too. Feeling a bit nervous, Akira demanded to know what Kumagai wanted to talk about. Deep down, she worried that Kumagai knew she and Daichai were dating and had come to show who was boss. But to Akira's surprise, Kumagai said she was there to apologize. Kumagai bowed and admitted she'd acted like a complete failure of a person. When Akira heard the phrase, utter failure of a human being, she immediately jumped to the conclusion that Daichai and Kumagai must be dating for sure. Meanwhile, Kumagai, not realizing what Akira was thinking, explained that she had been watching the judo matches for a long time and always felt nothing but respect and admiration for Akira. But it was like Akira couldn't hear a word Kumagai was saying. The only thing on her mind was that Kumagai was trying to steal Daichai away from her. Kumagai kept going, listing all the things she liked about Akira, telling her how cool and inspiring she was, and that's why she had fallen for her. Still, Akira was convinced Kumagai was just trying to mess with her. She thought her opponent was playing the game way better than she was. After hearing enough, Akira looked up at Kumagai and declared that Daichai was hers. Kumagai just looked confused, wondering what Akira was talking about and who Daichai even was. Shyly, Kumagai explained that she wasn't a fan of any Daichai, she was a fan of Akira. That's when it finally clicked. Akira's brain finally caught up, and she realized what Kumagai had been saying all along. Embarrassed, Akira covered her face and begged Kumagai to forget everything she just said. To make it up to her, Akira gave Kumagai the ultimate gift for any fan, her autograph on Kumagai's varsity jacket. Even then, Akira kept hiding her face in embarrassment. The next day, Kumagai was surprised to learn that Daichai was actually Akira's boyfriend. She found out when Akira apologized again for how she had acted the day before. Akira decided to be honest with Kumagai, explaining that she acted like an overprotective girlfriend, because Daichai had been getting a lot of attention from other girls lately, and it made her feel a bit insecure. Akira went on to say that even though Daichai was always calling her cute, and had even told her recently that he liked her best, she still felt like he was always the one leading the relationship. All she wanted was to break through his cool, calm attitude. Hearing this, Kumagai was surprised to realize that her tough judo idol also had a softer, more girly side. She was totally okay with it, and assured Akira that she had a great idea that could help her out. Later that day, Akira met up with Daichai wearing a beautiful Yura long-sleeved jacket, just like Kumagai had suggested. Kumagai had told her that Yura jackets were super trendy with the girls. To Akira's surprise, Daichai really liked it. He even bent down to hold the hem of the jacket and admired the embroidery. On their way home together, it started pouring rain and Akira's Yura jacket got soaked. Daichai suggested they go to his place to dry it off, and Akira agreed. When they got to Daichai's place, Akira took off her jacket and felt a bit embarrassed about showing so much skin. Daichai took the jacket, saying he'd dry it for her, but before leaving, he told her to put on any of his clothes so she wouldn't catch a cold. After he left, Akira shyly looked through his stuff and found a big shirt which she slowly put on. Suddenly, Daichai came back in, announcing that he'd put her jacket in the bathroom dryer, freaking Akira out. Daichai was completely caught off guard by how cute Akira looked wearing his shirt. He quickly looked away, which made Akira ask what was wrong. Daichai stayed quiet, and that only made Akira more curious. She kept asking why he wouldn't look at her, and if he thought she looked that bad. Finally, Daichai reassured her that wasn't it at all. He explained he just felt overwhelmed because it was the first time she'd ever worn his clothes. Akira's face turned bright red as she started blushing. She smirked a little and teased Daichai, asking if this was the kind of look he liked, but Daichai just got even more embarrassed and gently pushed her away. But Akira didn't stop. She kept teasing Daichai, asking if seeing her in his shirt was his weakness. Daichai, completely embarrassed, asked why she liked messing with him so much, but Akira just stayed quiet and kept up the teasing. When Daichai looked at her, he realized how risky the situation was with her wearing his shirt. He almost lost it, just staring at how cute she looked. Akira was rocking the classic boyfriend shirt, and Daichai knew he was close to losing it. To save himself, he quickly grabbed a black jacket and handed it to Akira, telling her to cover up. Akira noticed how flustered Daichai was and smirked, enjoying every second. She leaned in, taking her teasing up a notch. But suddenly, Daichai got so nervous he slipped and ended up falling right on top of Akira on the bed. For a moment, everything went totally silent and awkward. Both Akira and Daichai froze, too shy and embarrassed to move or say anything. After what felt like forever, Daichai finally lifted his head and looked at Akira, shocked to see her face as red as a traffic light. She was more embarrassed than ever. Trying to lighten the mood, Daichai reached out to brush her hair away, but Akira quickly turned her face to the side. Realizing how awkward things had gotten, Daichai hurriedly got off her. Daichai was so flustered he couldn't even look at Akira. He wasn't ready for anything intimate, and whatever almost happened was way more than he could handle. So he told Akira that he could only do something like that after they were married. Akira got up from the bed and put on the black jacket Daichai had given her, which made him feel a little better. She didn't say anything, just crouched on the bed with her hand over her mouth, still embarrassed. The next week, Daichai was super excited because there was a concert happening that day. Akira, standing next to him, was surprised to see how hyped he was and asked if he was a fan of the Earl of Sandwich. Daichai said he definitely was, but complained that he'd never managed to win tickets to any solo shows before, since there were always so many people trying to get in. While Daichai talked excitedly about his favorite band, Akira wasn't really listening. She couldn't stop thinking about what Daichai had said about marriage the day before at his place. The thought made her nervous, and she started to wonder if Daichai was actually planning to marry her soon. Even as they reached the concert entrance, Akira was still lost in thought. She realized they were still in school, so it was pretty much impossible for Daichai to be thinking about marriage already. Just then, Daichai snapped Akira out of her thoughts by telling her to look ahead. When she did, she saw a bunch of little brats playing nearby and was surprised to see so many at the concert. Daichai, enjoying the moment, commented that the more brats there were, the more fun the concert would be. Daichai's comment sent Akira right back into her own thoughts. She started imagining her and Daichai with brats of their own and wondered if he wanted a big family. Lost in her daydream, Akira suddenly blurted out that it was way too early to be thinking about stuff like that. Daichai turned to her, looking confused, but quickly changed the subject when he spotted some delicious curry stew on a table nearby. He commented that, whenever there was curry for dinner, he could eat as much as he wanted and wouldn't mind having it every day. Hearing this, Akira started imagining their future together if they got married, and wondered if Daichai was hinting that he wanted her to cook curry stew for him every day. In her imagination, Akira pictured Daichai happily eating her curry stew, saying it was the best he'd ever tasted, and even thanking the gods for marrying someone who could cook so well. Lost in her thoughts, Akira suddenly blurted out, even louder than before, asking Daichai what he was talking about. Daichai gave her a sideways look, wondering if she was okay, and gently touched her face to check her temperature. That touch instantly reminded Akira of the moment at his place when he brushed her hair to the side. At that moment, Daichai realized Akira felt warm and figured she probably had a fever. He suggested they skip the concert and go home instead. When Akira asked about missing the show, Daichai told her that nothing was more important than her health. Akira was touched, she apologized and thanked him. Daichai gave her a bottle of water to help her feel better, then took her home to her parents. As she watched him leave, Akira felt moved by his kindness and thought that if marriage was something Daichai really wanted, maybe she could start thinking about it too. Is marriage the next step for this awkward couple? Comment Tomboy Girlfriend if you're excited to see what happens next in part 2. If you enjoyed the story, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for contents like this. As always, thanks for watching.